Hi, I'm Taylor Williams, and today we're going to talk about Google Classroom. So what is Google Classroom? Google says that Google Classroom is a workflow management system. The goal of Google Classroom is to save both teachers and students time by organizing assignments and class content into an easy-to-access workspace. Google Classroom is also compatible with all of Google's apps for education. Step 1, let's get started. Okay, so Google Classroom is the main website we're going to be looking at and reviewing. It was easier to break it down into pictures, so I'm going to walk you through how to set up your Google Classroom. Step 1, you're going to sign in. Right here, you see Google Classroom. You're going to sign in with your school email address. It's a little blurred out for privacy reasons, but you're just going to enter in your school email address right here to sign in. Step 2, you're going to either join a class if you're a student or create your class. Today we're going to be creating our class. Once you hit create a class, you're going to fill in the details of your classroom. So right here it says geometry grade 8. You have the option to put third period and then the subject geometry. You can make this as detailed as you want. You can even put the year. So if you make a new classroom each year, then you're able to go back and look at assignments you've previously made. Step 3, you're going to either invite your students or give them a code. In the secondary classroom setting, I always like to invite the students just because they're going to lose their code countless times. So it's just easier if you already have a roster to go ahead and get them in there. Now we're going to talk about how Google Classroom works. Move this over. So Google Classroom allows teachers to create, distribute, collect, and grade assignments. So everything a teacher needs in one easy workspace. The first process for a teacher to create an assignment is to enter a title and description for the assignment. After that, teachers can attach any additional resources, whether this be web links, YouTube videos, etc. Then you can share it with the class. Third, your students are going to complete the assignment, and then lastly, you're going to be able to grade. Questions work much like assignments. This feature allows teachers to quickly receive feedback from students with multiple choice or short answer questions. You can also open up this feature to your entire classroom. So this allows your students to collaborate and build on each other's answers. So this is a great tool. It's a great way to check student understanding. I like to think of it as a bell ringer. That way your students are talking and you can see kind of where they're at, if they're understanding the content you're throwing at them, things like that. Grading in Google Classroom is very simple yet effective. You can assign any point value to any question or assignment that you create. You can also provide private feedback through the grading feature. Once an assignment is graded, the teacher selects the return option, and the grade along with the feedback, if you've provided it, is sent to the student. Google Chrome also, or Google Classroom also gives you the feature, or students the feature to provide feedback to you, so they can respond to your feedback. So now I'm going to walk you through the assigning and grading part of Google Classroom. So once you're in and you've created your classroom, you can create an assignment. It's going to be this little icon right here. You're going to fill in the details. So here we've created an assignment. It's for your geometry grade 8 third period class. The title of the assignment is explaining the Pythagorean theorem. The instructions, you can make these as detailed as you like, says write an overview of the history of the Pythagorean theorem. You can also enter in this due date, which is going to be August 30th at 8 a.m. Then you're going to assign the assignment. After you assign it, you can go in, or before you hit assign, you can go in and add. You can either add attachments from your computer, from your Google Drive. you can add a YouTube video or any other web link. This is optional, but you can also make a copy of anything that you attach for each student. So now you're going to finally hit Assign, and then you're going to let your students get to work. This is a great feature right here. You can see that here are your students. 11 of them have done the assignment and 4 have not done the assignment. So it lets you keep track of all your students. Step 5, you're going to add your grades. Here you have each student. These are not my students, so this was provided by Google. So no privacy issues here. But it looks like Jennifer made a 100 on the assignment. And then you also have, again, the option to add a private comment telling her nice job. And then once you hit return, it sends whatever you've typed in directly to the student. Posting and sharing. Google Classroom is a great way and a great place to store and share your content. With Google Classroom, we're able to post links to important class websites, share YouTube videos, and post all of our assignments for the year. It's one of the most efficient ways to distribute materials to students, and I like to think of it as the Blackboard of K through 12. Because it's a great way to get students introduced to online learning but not be fully immersed in it. So if we can help that transition, then that's great. Announcements. Announcements in the Google Classroom enable teachers to quickly distribute information to the entire class. Announcements do not have the option to be graded. Students, however, can provide feedback on any announcement that the teacher sends out. So this is a great way to keep lines of communication open in the classroom and provide our students with a voice. The calendar feature is one of my favorites in Google Classroom. Anytime that you create an assignment, it automatically puts it on an assignment calendar for your class. So we saw on that last assignment that the due date was August 30th at 8 a.m. So what it's going to do is it's going to create a calendar for your classroom, and on August 30th it's going to show that that assignment is due. So this is a great way for students and teachers to keep track of what's going on in the class, and along with verbal confirmation, this should cut down on any late assignments. Google Classroom and digital resources. Google Classroom, Google Docs, and Google Slides are great resources to engage students in digital discussions. There are educational apps that pair really well with Google Classroom, and this allows students and teachers resources that sometimes they wouldn't otherwise have access to. So now we're going to look at some of those. Digital resources for the science classroom. For discussion resources, I like to use Google Plus Communities. It's a secure online community for collaboration and discussion. Real-Time Board is essentially an online whiteboard. For interactive lessons, Edpuzzle allows you to turn videos into interactive lessons. Google Slides, 10 students can edit a Google Slide presentation at a time, so this is great if you want to have some group work going on, you want to split your students up, that way they can work in groups but also as a whole. And then TED Ed. TED Ed allows you to take any TED Talk, YouTube video, and turn it into an interactive lesson. For note-taking and organization, DocHub allows you to view, edit, and sign PDFs. So this is really great because parents do have access to Google Classroom as long as a teacher invites them. So say I send out a science lab waiver that says we're going to be dealing with this. I need your parents to sign off on it, say they forget and forget and forget, and it's the day before lab. I can always send a message to that student in Google Classroom, and their parent can see it. Their parent then has access to the PDF, and they can sign, and all of our students are squared away and good for lab the next day. Google Drawings is great too. because it allows you to make any type of flowcharts, concept maps, and any type of diagram that you can imagine. It's also great for any type of creation resources that you need because it has so many features that you can access and use. For science news, research, and reading, I like Discovery Education. It has great student and teacher resources. The Nat Geo photo of the day I always like to have up and get students thinking. Phys.org Spotlight Science News we're going to take a look at in just a second. For science activities, experiments, and interactives, BioDigital Human allows you to walk through all the human processes, which is great from a lab standpoint. That helps us save money for other labs if we can save there and walk through it online. Chem Reference Periodic Table is a great periodic table to use, and Google Science Journal makes experimentation and observation an absolute breeze. So now we're going to look at the Phys.org Spotlight Science News. I'm going to take you to the Google Chrome add-on. So once you come to this web page, it has an Add to Chrome option. Once you add it to your Chrome, you can add it to your classroom so that you and your students have access from your classroom. Let's go back. And then we're going to take a look at an article that was posted on this website so you can kind of get an idea of what your students are seeing. So here we have an article about cells trapping viruses. We're provided with pictures. We have the full article, and it has two separate videos. They're primarily short, so they don't eat up a lot of class time, but they're great in content, so it's great to add on to any lesson that you have. So this is a great website to use. I use it frequently. You can break it down by subject, and then once you're in your subject, you can break it down by topic. So it has a lot of options for science teachers. Okay. Math and science resources. Let's see. CodeCogs, it allows you to create mathematical and scientific expressions and equations. Graspable Math Sidebar. You can turn math expressions into expressions that you can interact with, so that's nice. Plotly is scientific quality graphing. Desmos Graphing Calculator allows you to plot functions, create tables, and even animate your functions, so that's always fun to get students involved in. Edge is an on-screen ruler that supports multiple units and has horizontal and vertical orientation. And then we've already covered Google Drawings. Here's some tips from teachers who have used Google Classroom. These tips include setting up your classroom and staying organized. These I pulled off a PDF from Google Classroom, introducing users to it, so you can always feel free to go look at these yourself. And then we have some on creating assignments and connecting with your parents and peers. Here's a list of resources that I used for this presentation, and then my reflection. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Google Classroom.